going on, everyone? We're live here at Bluebell Park. Alex Miller joined by Travis Brown of the Eagle. A&M baseball team, they are headed back to the College World Series for the 7th time in school history, first time since 2017, in the first year under Jim Schlossnagle. Travis, what does advancing to Omaha just mean for the Aggies in this first season under Schlossnagle?
I mean, it is a pretty unbelievable turnaround when you look at where they were last year, not even in the NCAA tournament without a coach, as they didn't renew Rod Childress' contract, and a little bit rudderless, to now, a year later, punching a ticket to the College World Series. That it's a pretty unbelievable turnaround, especially with how Jim Schlossnagle was able, and his coaching staff was able to piece together this roster with how many transfers they brought in, with how many different new pieces that they had to put into place. It's pretty remarkable what they were able to do here, and we can get into the nuts and bolts of how that happened on the field, but just 35,000-foot view. It's fascinating. It's going to be a study for a while on what they were able to do this season to be able to get to Omaha and hopefully for A&M fans find that elusive Omaha win that they haven't had since 1993.
Yeah, it's a mix of old and youth with this A&M team, and that was at the forefront of everything today. When you look at the transfers that came in, the guys that made the big plays for A&M, just speak to that dynamic and some of the guys that came in and made it happen with Dylan Rock and Troy Clonch, Jacob Palish.
Yeah, I mean, you have the guy like Troy Clonch, who Coach Schlossnagle said in the post-game press conference that is kind of the heart and soul of the team. He's the guy that kind of keeps everybody settled down and kind of keeps the team moving forward in games. And he was huge this weekend with what he was able to do in keeping Louisville's runners at bay as far as the stolen base game is concerned. They were huge in that this season, Louisville is, and Clonch was perfect in caught stealings this weekend, and so he was able to kind of keep things at bay there. Then on the other end of the spectrum, you had Brad Rudis, a freshman who came in, was able to eat, was it an inning and
inning and two-thirds,
and was able to get to where you had to know that they were going to come back with either Jacob Palish or Joseph Menifee there to close out the final couple outs of the game, but they needed to bridge that gap between Will Johnson and the Jacob Palish is who it ended up being, and Brad Rudis, the freshman, was able to come in and do that. He closed out almost all the games in the regional for A&M, kind of has separated himself as that end of the inning, end of the game guy, and he simply throws strikes. That's what Jim Schlossnagle says about him. He's a guy that comes in, they don't have to worry about him walking too many guys. He's going to get in there and throw strikes, and so that's kind of that dichotomy, the other end. And then you also kind of talk about the guys who came in, the transfer guys, and the guys who were around. I mean, you look at last night, the two guys they brought in were Troy Clonch and who was the other guy that they had in the press conference? It was two transfer guys.
It was Troy, and it's slipping my mind now.
Anyway, a lot of these guys we talked to, transfer guys, that have come in to really change the kind of trajectory of this program.
Jordan Thompson.
Jordan Thompson was around, but to start out, it was Clonch and Palish in the media, the pre-Super Regional that came to talk to us, and two new guys. They were asked about, hey, they were two guys that their former teams were also in the Super Regional, and what does that mean to them? That's what I was thinking of. And then today you have Trevor Werner and you have Ryan Targok, who is in there, who are two returning guys. Trevor Werner was in Northern California, already playing summer ball at this time this year without a coach, and kind of trying to figure out what's going to be next. And a year later, he's in Omaha.
Yeah, let's look at the ninth, especially the bottom of the ninth, because Schlossnagle makes an interesting move. Rudis gets to a 3-2 count. It's a crazy at bat. It's at the 10th pitch of that bat with Louisville's two-hole hitter Metzinger, who's one of their best guys, and then he brings in Palish. Mm-hmm. How pivotal was that move? And when A&M got that strikeout, was it kind of a sense that the Aggies were probably going to win the game at that point?
It was huge. I think that something that is definitely Schloss has a feel for this in when batters are really on pitches. Yeah, he was working and battling and fighting Rudis, that is, through that at bat. But Schlossnagle even said he thought about going out there at 2-2 and probably should have pulled him at that point because he didn't really have his best breaking ball that day, and that limited his pitches. So he really only had fastball changeup mix that he could throw. And while he wasn't hitting into the field, his timing was right on those pitches, fouling it straight back. And that's when Schlossnagle, as most times when you ask him, why did you go to the pin, he's going to say he was on those pitches. The hitter was timed on those pitches, and there just wasn't that pitch he could throw. They go into the bullpen, bring in Palish. Palish is a guy that works backwards. He likes to throw that slider first in ahead of the count pitches and work back on his fastball. He threw that slider in the dirt. He swung and the miss, and the rest was history. But it was a savvy move. He seems, I mean, of course, he's done this for a while. He's gone to Omaha. He has that instinct to go in and get the guy when he seems like there just isn't, that when the hitters have kind of figured him out, and he isn't afraid to do it mid at bat, even with a 3-2 count, and it worked out for them.
Well, we've got stories to write and content to give to our readers, so we'll get back to it. But be sure to check theeagle.com for all of our coverage coming up with the Aggies' trip to the College World Series.
Real quick, also notable,
yeah,
the two teams that A&M beat to get to this point in the key games, TCU, Louisville, those are the two teams that knocked them out in the 2017 College World Series. A little bit revenge there. Schlossnagle gets his kind of dream turnaround, and a lot of these players get to go to the College World Series for the first time. Pretty good story all the way around there.
No kidding. Well, we're going to have plenty of coverage coming from the Aggies' trip to Omaha here in the next week or so. So be sure to check theeagle.com for all of our coverage on A&M's win over Louisville. Like I said, for Travis Brown, I'm Alex Miller. We'll see you next time.